Aussie Lawn Stars.
By doing my podcast, I'm hopeful that those people that are in the industry and those people that are thinking about the industry get to see the full breadth of how people behave in this industry, and they get to hear from you, and they get to hear from a number of people that we might classify as cowboys or whatever other word we might want to use. And they can choose to enter the industry or choose to change their perspective based on more information rather than less. So if you take nothing from this podcast ever, but if I'm reliable, I'll get better customers. That's a start. If I can get them elevated a little bit further to go, actually, I need to start thinking about this idea of profit first. If my business doesn't actually make a profit after it pays my own wage, then I can't put on an employee or an offsider because I'm going to make a loss every time they work. Those simple lessons, massive things. And if I can reach the 20,000 contractors that exist at the moment, or the 10 million Australians that ever are thinking about starting their own business, then they have a chance of making a better decision.
Why do you want them to listen to your podcast?
So that when they think about starting a business, they've got the content that is pointing them in the right direction.
That is such a valuable piece of advice there.
The change in mindset makes a massive difference.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Star.
Well, nothing bad can come of it. I've met you. I've met a million people in my life. I've done a lot of different things that we haven't even spoke about.
Yeah.
But one thing I do have a really good fundamental on is people in general.
Yeah.
There are still people that are good people in the world.
Yeah.
And this is a prime example of that. And I'm not putting, mate, I don't have to put you on a pedestal. Like, I'm not even trying to do that. I get nothing from it, but I am black and white.
Yeah.
There is nothing bad about, which I'm not saying there is, but it's only good to bring awareness to others.
Yeah.
If they're going to venture into this game that we call landscaping or soft landscaping or gardens, right? So yep. I think the biggest thing from it, out of the industry in total, there's no governing body.
Yeah.
And people go, I pay my insurance. I get it. We all pay our insurance.
Yep.
Yes, we pay tax. Mate, yep. I can show you my tax and you'd freak, right?
Yeah.
But there's no governing body which not necessarily cracks down on it. But there's no governing body or no registrative body that holds accountability. Now, I'm not saying there should be.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it could be.
Yeah.
But that is a big, I think, would be an overall big problem in the industry itself.
I think the place for that governing body comes to the type of work that you're doing, right? So if you're servicing individuals, there is no governing body that can prevent you from mowing somebody's lawn. If you're working on a golf course, generally speaking, you're either doing an apprenticeship or you've completed an apprenticeship in greenkeeping. And likewise with other sports fields. So.
No, and this is a prime example. Like I've set my diary to have this time, but business is business, right?
Yeah.
I've put in 4 aerations while you've been gas starting.
Well, there you go. So
it's been working.
Yeah, but that's all part of the industry as well. Where I've heard contractors go, if it's after 6 o'clock, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
You know what? If I had that attitude, my biggest client has a property portfolio of $48 million.
Yeah.
$48 million. Now, this is just not a company. This is just an individual, right?
Yeah.
I'll be honest. If he rings me at 10 o'clock at night, I'll answer.
Yeah, fair.
And it's not because I'm bowing down, but I'm also not doing it for free either, right?
That's right. You're making a business out of that, not just nothing.
And that comes back to over-servicing the client.
So there are people out there who would say, I will never do that, and they're not going to have that client.
It's correct, because that sort of high-end clientele, even last Sunday, I think it was.
Yeah.
I got a phone call from a very high client, very wealthy, not the same bloke,
Yep.
and said, I need you at my house now. It was
Yeah.
4:00 on a Sunday.
Yep.
He didn't say, what's it going to cost me?
Yeah.
He just said, I need this done. Yeah, 7:30, I'm there.
Yep.
Because it's not about price.
Yeah.
And you know what? Whatever I charge will be paid.
I've had residential clients where I would never answer their phone on the weekend because I know that when they're calling, they don't need me and they're just assuming they can call me anytime. And I've had other residential clients, which are not worth any more dollars, but where they respect me as an individual. And I've said to them, if you have a problem, doesn't matter what time it is, call me. I
Yep.
will answer if I can, and
Yes,
I
of
will
course.
respond and sort it out.
Yep.
Because there's that respect there, and the respect is I'm running a business, and they've shown respect for that, and this is what the outcome is related to their requests. I'm happy to meet them where they are. And now that I'm doing large commercial work, it is built on relationships. It's about knowing the right person and making sure you can maintain that relationship no matter what.
Well, relationships are always been very important in business, but I think in today's day and age where relationships, business to business relationships, are becoming more digital.
Yeah.
Now, they are so more important now more than ever. You can blame COVID, you can blame whatever you want, but it's the digital age we live in. You know what I mean? We're doing this now. A couple of years ago, we wouldn't be doing this.
That's
I would
right.
be at your house.
Yep.
But you know, and there'd be different. If I was doing this at your house, there'd be different chemistry again, right? Because you're face to face. So what I'm sort of getting back to have a business successful, you need to have really good relationships, be able to build really good relationships and maintain really good relationships.
Yeah.
I don't know how these single operator guys are able to do that. Like, you have my mobile number.
Yeah.
Not many of our clients do.
Correct.
Because we have a 1-800 number that gets filtered through.
Yeah.
And my partner, Erica, her role is the operations.
Yeah.
She maintains if that call needs to come to me.
Yeah.
And some people don't like it.
Yeah.
But you bring another big business and get the guy you want.
But I also understand that even though I've got your mobile phone number, I'll do a better job of scheduling your time if I talk to Erica.
Everybody knows this, but again, like, I've got 2 other companies, quite successful companies, and I don't just sit on my laurels, man. I work on them. Like, I literally, I've got many different hats.
Yeah.
And you know, I thrive well under various hats, I guess, and that's what I want for me.
Yep. Awesome.
I guess so. But yeah, as I said to you, I had someone say to me the other day, and your missus is the operation manager. I said, my missus works probably 60 hours a week plus our family. Oh, yeah, she just takes some calls. No, my missus is, mate, it wouldn't be unusual to have my missus out in the tools.
Yeah.
She knows how to operate every machine. Does she really want to? No. Has she had to? 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the desk now. Since we've been on the podcast, we've booked in 4 aerations. There's 2 massive quote requests. There's an order for one of the pharmaceutical products I sell.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be half as successful. None of the companies would be half as successful if it was just me running it. I don't like the word can't, because I don't believe in the word can't.
Yep.
I couldn't run it to the current level it is. And we have those systems, as I said to you, like, we keep a diary of what their dog's name is. We keep them, we know what height their lawn's always mowed on.
Yeah.
They're dated when we've had a problem. If we haven't had a problem with the next door neighbour, we've made our profiles for our clients. Some of them are pages long, but that's how serious sort of we take that.
Yep.
We especially do it with our corporate. Like I've got a job I go to and I have a debrief. I write a debrief email every week about potential risks and hazards and so forth. So, look, everyone runs their business their way. It's there's no, well, I do believe there's a right and a wrong.
Yeah.
Like if it's not profitable, it's not making sense, right? Get out of here. Bloody kid life, right? So, but that shows you as well, like I'm a real person. Like people might
of course.
that I'm not,
Yep.
I'm a real person as well, right? So
Well, I look at what you're saying here, and I relate this to my podcast in some ways. Okay, so running my lawn care and gardening, I think I'm doing a pretty good job of how I've got it organised. I have followed through with the various aspects of going, okay, have I set up systems? Have I got this business running at a professional level where I'm happy, it's profitable, and it's treating staff well, it's treating clients well, it's a complete business. I'm happy. When it comes to the podcast, I've sat down with professionals and said, hey, what do you think I could do better? And gone through all the things I'm doing. And typically the answer's been, hey, I think you're doing everything right. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, well, how come I haven't got 1 million listeners?
That's true.
And I look at it now and I'm going, okay, well, all those things I might be doing right, but some of them I'm doing them kind of like the cowboy with the lawn mowing business. And I look around my dungeon and I go, you know what? Are the steps in place? Yes. Do I need to improve them so that they're efficient and they're professional in all aspects? Well, there's some room for improvement.
Mm-hmm. But there always is.
Yeah.
And there's no look at Joe Rogan, biggest podcast in the world, right?
Yeah.
That didn't happen over 10 episodes.
Well, I think it comes with a striving for improvement, right?
Correct. And I think as soon as you lose that mentality of and get the one of comfortability, I think there's your problem. Because if you're not, we say these, what I'm about to say, we all say these like little terms loosely, but do we really listen to them, right? Like if you're comfortable, you're not growing.
Yeah.
Straight out. And let's be honest, whether you want to relate that to relationships, business, exercise, whatever you want, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And I think everyone knows that, oh, yeah, my dad used to say that, oh, my mum used to say it, but did you listen?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between knowing something and listening to something too, right?
Yeah. Well,
so
the other thing I've said numerous times, and I say this to myself now with the podcast, you are going to reflect the people you hang around with. And I know you spend time hanging around the right people to build your business, and BNI is one of the things that comes up. I've heard you mention it. I've talked to numerous people recently that mention being part of a BNI to help their business be in the right place. If you hang around Joe Rogan, you're going to learn some podcasting secrets.
It's the truth. And in business, just like life, it is so prevalent. Like, of course, if you walk around with people who are lame, you end up with a lip. Get it, got it. We all know that. You know, in business, you've got to be with people with the same mindset.
Yeah. And
don't just see that they can't give you some sort of value.
Yeah.
Because they can. BNI, I'm glad you brought up BNI. I was so against it; it wasn't funny.
And I am that way. I went to a BNI earlier in my business. I went to 1 or 2 meetings, and I said, "That's not for me."
Yeah, no, it's not. It wasn't. I'll give you what I do have out of it. Erica, that's my partner. She goes every Friday.
Yeah.
Because I say I don't have time. I do have time, but I think my time is better spent with the crews, getting them out, sorting any problems, if that makes sense to you. I think that's they're my strengths, I guess.
For sure.
But the good thing about BNI is you are around like-minded, self-starters at times, and the network you create is huge. Now, we were just talking. We talk about it every now and again about just not going to it and so forth. But the pros weigh out the cons, and there'd be a lot of contractors that would be like, I don't have time for that. It's not, it's not for me.
Yeah.
They're the ones that would probably grow from it.
Yeah.
That they are, because, depending on the BNIs and everything like that. But it's been pretty beneficial for us. It's opened up some doors, and not indirectly.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
When I turned it down, I live in Cooranbong, so I was working Cooranbong, Morisset, Bonnells Bay area, and two postcodes. Right, that was I placed the limit on my business of going, I'm only working those two postcodes. The BNI was in Toronto, and the business opportunities were Toronto. And I was like, I don't want to travel to Toronto, so it's a waste of my time. It's a huge opportunity to grow, but I don't want to grow that direction.
And you know what? That is a perfect decision-making process that holds a lot of weight and merit, because you were open to it.
Yeah.
And but the people that go,
At the same time, I recognise, looking at that now, going, okay, when I was limiting my business to those two postcodes, it was for good reason. It was for route density. But at the same time, I was so blind to looking at other possibilities that it was actually limiting my business in a big way too.
Well, that goes back to where you see yourself too, right? Like, there's no wrong with I don't think it's bad to limit yourself to two postcodes.
Yeah.
Do I think it's a smart move for optimum growth? No. However, not a bad strategy. Think about it.
Well, I think in hindsight, if I was to put myself back in that position 12 years ago, I've been in business for almost 15 years. So say 12 years ago, I think it was probably more than that when I joined that BNI up for 2 sessions and said, no, I'm not paying the yearly fee. If I was to do that again now and go, okay, what do I want out of my business? My focus back then was one run for myself and maybe have an offsider. Whereas now, if I was looking at that and going, okay, what if I want the business to actually grow, I should be looking at it as one run is doing those two postcodes, and then the second vehicle can be set up to start focusing on Toronto and Awabba, and that's that part of the lakeside.
Yep. Well, that's right. What it would do for you as well is open up a bit of corporate stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
but that's if you want that.
Which now that's my focus.
And it's not a bad focus to have. It's a very good focus.
Are you thinking of leaving your job to start a profitable and enjoyable lawn and garden business? Aussie Lawn Stars shares stories, lessons, and advice to help you grow a healthy, productive, efficient, and sustainable business. Got questions or want more information? Contact Aussie Lawn Stars at iCloud.com or reach out to Gary Ashton on Facebook or Messenger for personal help. But beware, your question may end up in a podcast episode. For business coaching that ensures the right mindset and decision-making approach, check out Think Tank Coaching. Their website is https://thinktankcoaching.com.au. They've been instrumental in helping me and can guide you towards achieving your business goals. You can also email them at thinktankcoaching@outlook.com. Need to set up best practices for bookkeeping, accounting, and business structure? Contact Adrian from Prosper Financial at 02 4977 3363. And don't forget to join Lawn Mowing Contractors Australia and Australian Professional Lawn Contractors Facebook groups. Great supportive communities focused on our industry.
Be nice is one of those things, I think. But as I said to you, I think there's a lot of guys out there that wouldn't give it the time of the day. But I think there'd be people on this that listen to you that if they joined it, it might actually. And I'm not trying to endorse it. I get nothing out of it.
Yeah.
But would find it pretty beneficial.
Well, I look at a massive question I have had thrown at me over the 3 years I've been podcasting in terms of people starting a business, and they typically are only picking up residential jobs, and they're like, how do we get into doing commercial jobs? And my best answer at this point in time is don't. Just focus on building your residential run, and as you do that, you will find your residential customers will start asking you to do their commercial premises.
Not a bad philosophy, because that's the truth.
But if they start trying to chase commercial jobs, they actually start losing the customers that are making their business successful in order to chase something that they don't really know what they're doing.
Well, that's where it comes down to that whole juggle thing, right? Like, we've got a personal assistant. Well, Erica's got a personal assistant that part of her role is approaching other companies and working our relationships. We go to a lot of like, we go to a lot of real estate functions and stuff like that. We're invited. We don't just rock up.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of networking as well.
Yeah.
And again, you just don't know who anyone is. But if you say to the average contractor, there's a real estate you work for, and they've got a yearly function, and that probably won't go to that.
Yeah.
Because that's.
We got 2 developers the last function we went to.
Good. I didn't even think about that. The last function we went to, we ended up with 2 developers that we would have never, ever, ever crossed their paths.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the guy that does the dual occupancy on his residential property.
Yeah.
All the high rises,
We're
something at the junction of the building.
Yeah, we're talking about big players, and simply we're solving a few problems for them.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you didn't dress up, and I don't mean dress right up to the nines, but it's in our industry, it's like, nah, if it's not at the pub, I won't sort of worry about it. But there's a whole other side that I'm trying to adhere to. I'm trying to break the norm of what I've witnessed. I'm not saying there's not guys out there that don't do the corporate things. Please don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm dancing to the beat of my own drum.
Yeah.
And I find that very, 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 we've found it very successful.
Yep.
To build these relationships and open up those doors.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be turning over what we're turning over. Yes, we've got the systems in place. Yes, we've got the infrastructure and the knowledge and so forth. But we didn't just arrive here either. I can spit out some figures, and I think a lot of your listeners would be like, "What the hell?" You know what I mean? And I'm not better. I'm still learning.
Yep.
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's having these meetings. It's putting yourself in the right place. It's I got complimented yesterday because I could go into an office in our uniform. We get invited to. A lot of agents just spear us straight to the owners themselves to meet them. You know, so, and that's all because of building that rapport, that over servicing your clients, right? Like, it's servicing your connections.
I have told people that when they ask that question, how do I get commercial work? I'm like, you make relationships with people.
It's correct, because it might not be tomorrow. You know, it might not be next day. I'll give you an interesting one.
Yeah.
So I do aerations. I've got my own machine. I've got my own scarifier, this and that. I use it as an add-on.
Yeah.
All right. I probably shouldn't give this away, but this is what I do, right?
Yep.
I use it as a lead gen exercise. My first idea was to rent it out, right?
Yeah.
Bad idea, because people wreck it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, right? And I'm not Kennards, okay? So
yeah.
I'm competing with something that I don't need to compete with. So I thought, why don't I do it? And I've copped a bit of backlash, because there are people in the industry that go hire it from Kennards and charge a lot more than me. I don't undercharge. I charge as much as I think it's worth.
Yeah, it's part of your business.
Bingo. But I've used it as a lead gen. And I've told a couple of people this, and they sort of scratch their head and like, lead gen? Like, I spoke to a real estate guy or a sales guy, and they're like, "Oh, what a great idea!"
Yeah.
So that lead gen, I see the same people every year. They don't want nothing else from my company, not anything.
Yeah.
But the amount of doors that lead gen has opened, is phenomenal.
You know what? I found a really good lead gen for the same reason, and I've only done this with one person, but I saw the lights went off in my head just going, people want this. This is back before it was popular to do.
Yep.
Is what's on that sign behind you?
Oh, yeah, okay.
I had a customer that I think a widow. She didn't have a husband anymore, and she was going to sell her property. And she's like, "Can you come and just make the lawn look a little bit tidier?" And I'm like, "Okay, what you probably want is just to get rid of some of the weeds out of the lawn, make it a little bit healthier, so that when it's up for sale, it looks great." And I used a blue vegetable dye when I was doing the weeds. And she said afterwards, she said, "Hey, can you come back and just make it look green like that again?" And I said, "Oh, so you don't need the weeds treated; you just want your grass to look nice and bright green." And for the sale photos, for the putting it up for sale, and then whilst people are coming to look at it, it looked absolutely fabulous.
Well, I can give you the statistics on this. I go to a lot of real estate. I wouldn't say them like schmoozies, but like we do all right. We get invited to a lot of larger sort of real estate functions and stuff like that. And a green lawn, I didn't say healthy.
Yep.
I didn't say healthy. I didn't say weed free.
Yeah.
A green maintained lawn, and it can be with a ryobi, doesn't have to be a Toro,
Yeah.
can add anywhere in the Newcastle vicinity up to $11,000 on the sale price.
Yeah.
Now, people go, "Oh, yeah, $11,000
And
as a green lawn to pull up with," because you buy with your eyes. Where's the majority of your lawn? Yeah, we have a backyard, but Australia is very different like any other countries. We have a nature strip.
Yeah.
We have a front lawn. We often have a side lawn.
Yep.
We're very unusual, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and we've become accustomed to, if you've got a nice, beautiful lawn out the front, imagine the inside.
So if you do that for a property that's up for sale, you're probably doing it for 1.5 months to 3 months, and then it's gone.
It's someone else's problem,
So it's
right?
two or three sprays.
The technology in the sprays and the product we use is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
And it works in a couple of different ways, but I generally get away with one spray.
One spray lasts for the time that it's up for sale.
3 months.
Yeah. One spray, and then you're probably servicing it to make it stay maintained.
Correct,
while it's up for sale.
Because that's part of the deal.
Yep.
Because, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I can come and spray it, but don't.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So there's another service that someone didn't necessarily think they needed until you're trying to sell a $5 million house with a shit lawn, right? Like you.
If you're selling your house through the same real estate agent and every other lawn looks beautiful and yours looks terrible, what are you going to do?
And real estates aren't allowed to doctor photos anymore. I think they're allowed to change contrast, but they're not allowed to do paint shop anymore. They're not allowed to do. They're not allowed to. Do some still do? I would say they would.
Yeah.
But it's becoming less and less prevalent now because real estates have a governing body, so they can be in trouble for it. But even that is quite an amazing figure. So go back to your $50 lawn to keep someone's lawn looking beautiful.
Yeah,
are you really worth $50? You potentially, by servicing this client 18 times a year, you're potentially making them with $11,000. It's an investment.
I had an individual just approached me face to face about two months ago, and he's like, "Do you do aerations?" And I'm like, "No, but I'll hook you up." I rang around Central Coast. Does anyone do aerations? And the answer I got was, "No, we don't do it. No, we don't do it. No, we don't do it." And try Coochie Hydro Green. And I would never have contacted Coochie Hydro Green to do an aeration. But this person said, actually, the Coochie Hydro Green on the Central Coast actually knows what he's doing. He does a brilliant job. And he's the only guy I know that does aerations on the Central Coast. And I'm like, there's a massive opportunity for somebody to offer a service that is just not available easily on the Central Coast.
Well, I thought it was. See, my philosophy is I try and become the outdoor space solutions guy.
Yeah.
People go, they don't want to aerate this and that. Okay, that's not in your wheelhouse. That's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
But me personally, for the business that I'm creating, I need to have that tool because it's a need for a lawn. And you mentioned battery mowers and things like that, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a need for scarifiling and aeration because they don't. Anyone that's got one of those robot mowers ends up with a thatchy lawn, right? Like it just.
I would have
It's
called BS on that, but that's why I got that, because where my robot's working, the buffaloes started getting a bit spongy, and it's like, all right, I'm going to rip the sponginess out of that buffalo.
It's inevitable, and I think it's ironic that the same contractor that's making it spongy doesn't want the machines to make it unspongy. I just see that as maybe that's my entrepreneurial head, but I just don't. It's like a painter not having paint remover.
I
Like
think
that's how
until you see the problem, you don't see it as a problem. So when I first started my business, I was doing a couple of jobs out Bonnells Bay, and I went past this lawn that looked like the best lawn in the street. And then I noticed one day the guy out there mowing it with a cylinder mower. And so I was fascinated. I stopped in and had a quick chat to him. I was like, wow, it looks awesome. And he's like, it's buffalo, and the cylinder mower does a fantastic job, but it was fair dinkum. It was almost 3 inches of sponginess. Now, in my naivety, I did not think to go, oh, this could do with a Scarify, because I didn't know about it.
No, there you go.
I didn't know it was a problem. Efficiency is the thing that rules a business and the decisions you make as a small business owner. Right Mowers give you the options in their product lineup to match efficiency with size, fuel usage, and the type of jobs you want to target, from catching to mulching or side discharge, from roadside verges to acreages, and manicured lawns to 6 feet tall and super long. I've been using the Right Stander I 42-inch with a Catch Pro for manicured areas, and the Stander ZK61 to maximise productivity for large open acreage mowing. If you need to replace your push mower, try the 32-inch Stander B. If you have more open access to residential properties, there's a 42 through to 48-inch option that suits you. And if you want to enter the acreage market, the 52, 61 and 72-inch machines have choices in engine size and model type to suit the work you want it to do. Right Standards go the distance, saving you time and money, season after season.
Some people like that spongy feel.
Yeah.
Some people literally say to your face, I love it like that. Like but you got to understand why a lot of that's caused too, right? Like that's contractors, they come in, they do a lawn, not all. I shouldn't say that. I'm not painting everyone with the same brush, but it's about time and efficiency.
Yep.
The less times you empty the catcher, the better. Let's not be rude. That's me. That's you as well.
Yeah.
Like the more time you're emptying catcher, the less you're cutting grass.
That's it.
So you get, just take a bit off the top. Just take it a bit off the top. A lot of us wait till our catcher's completely full. Well, that changes cutting depth, right?
Yep.
We've got spillage happening. Oh, I didn't know it was full. What do you mean you didn't see the spill out the side? You didn't see that? Not to mention that if that bag's not got a good enough airflow, it's not sucking up the grass, right? Like it's diminished quite heavily.
Yep.
So you end up with all these scenarios that don't come from the homeowner.
Yeah.
A lot of it we inherit as contractors. We often inherit these lawns.
Yep.
But what an opportunity to change it. The 3 jobs I had today, big jobs, all come from other contractors.
Yeah.
Because they didn't. What did one of them say to me? Lovely bloke. Lovely bloke. He said to me, it's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I can do it. I know what I'm doing, but then I've got to go get the equipment. I've got to go get the machine. He goes, you charge me and I charge them. I said, sweet. No problem.
I think part of this comes down to contractors being uneducated in what they can do differently. And part of it comes down to we on the East Coast compared to WA,
Yeah.
we don't have to try to make the grass green. 99% of the time, we have enough rainfall and good fertile soil that grass will grow no matter what.
It's true.
So it's just a case of for East Coast contractors, most of us, just making long grass short.
Yeah. Yeah, correct.
Why would you add services to that? That just sounds like a pain in the butt.
And that's okay. But it depends what you want. I think, let's be honest, we all work for money. If people go, if I don't do anything, I'll get crazy. You know what? I agree to that. I can't sit still. I'm one of them guys that do a million things, right? But like, at the end of the day, you're working for money.
Yep.
If you tell me I've done seminars, I've done talks, I've done massive educational things, I've done podcasts, I've done lots of things.
Yeah.
But I do not believe the one person that says, I just do it for well-being.
Yeah.
Working does give good well-being.
Yep.
But if you weren't getting paid for it, would you go? You probably wouldn't, because there'd be more volunteers in the world.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. When we're on the East Coast and we've got good rainfall and good fertile soil, what we've got is a lot of businesses, if we can call them businesses, a lot of sole traders or solo workers out there who are living off the fat. Now, if you've built a business that is just living off the fat, which I can attest to this. I was looking at lawn care businesses back around 2000, and the guys that were doing it then were either a Jim's franchise or they were real good business people, because it was hard work. If you're doing it now when the season is fat and you can live off the cream, look ahead over the next 5 years when we're likely to have some financial strain and those customers disappear. Where's your business going to be? If you're not willing to diversify and look for those opportunities to grow your business in different directions to service the customer fully, don't take that the wrong way.
No, I get it.
Then you may not have a business.
Look, all businesses, not just ours is a collective group.
Yeah.
Do you know why Coca-Cola started adding vanilla Coke to Coke? Like, you know vanilla Coke and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, all the different flavors and different options.
The reason they did that is because sales were diminishing.
Interesting.
Why else would a gazillion-dollar company change something that's proven?
Yeah.
Look at McDonald's, for instance. Do you think McDonald's want a clean, healthy menu? There's a reason they change their burgers, and it's not to keep customers happy.
Yeah.
It's not they don't give a shit. Like, if McDonald's especially, that their business is not food, it's real estate.
Yeah.
So the reason why they diversify is because the competition is tight.
Yeah.
And all businesses, if you're not prepared to diversify, I believe you're going to get left behind regardless. It's my personal belief.
Yep.
Look at Apple.
Yeah.
Look at Google. You've got to diversify, and that may mean upskilling.
Yep.
You mentioned upskills to a 35, 40, 45-year-old person. Whoa.
Yep.
I don't have time for that. But you've got time to start going backwards in your business, right? Like,
yep.
I don't know. I see things a little bit different to others, I think. But as you said, you've got to be diverse. And that sometimes that means offering that other service that you don't really want to do. You know what I mean? Because it's a client that's already there.
I was talking to a couple of guys today that have been in the workforce as long as I've been alive, and I'm 47.
Yeah, wow.
So it's eye-opening to go, okay, they have seen a complete shift in economic times that I just have not been aware of. I've been sitting there, playing chasies, playing tips and going to school when they were busy working. And I look at that and I go, okay, I have actually been telling people the opposite. I've been saying find a niche that you can make good money out of and focus on that niche. If all you do is cut grass, look at whether you can focus in on a niche where you can get better dollars on that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, looking at the economic climate at the moment, if you get into that niche, you might find that's a very narrow market and gets narrower as people run out of money. So if you find the right niche, you might be fine. But if you diversify, chances are you will be fine when it comes to harder financial times.
That is correct, because during harder financial times, what are the first things anyone drops? Services, right? And people think, oh yeah, grass,
Luxury services.
Luxury services, and having the guy coming out and quickly doing your 300 square meter block is one of those things.
Yeah.
You know, thanks to the big green building at Bunnings, you know, you can get a mower for $300 or something. You know, you can get a Zito or whatever they call it. You can get a brush cutter that, are they any good? Well, it doesn't matter if they're any good or not. You know what I mean? If you've got to do the edges, that's what you're going to use, right?
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, I don't think a lot of people, I haven't witnessed a lot of people having that mindset.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what's around the corner. Our climate is ever changing. I do a little bit with the Aboriginal Land Council here and there, and mate, we've got spring was like, it's been spring for months, right? The last month of winter was spring, and if someone tries to tell me that it wasn't, they don't live around where I live, because it's been we had 30-degree days in winter, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So that is an evolutionary change there as far as plants, things are flowering. You know, I look after a rose farm, for instance. I'm the head guy there. And, you know, I've got roses flowering that, I mean, they're not supposed to flower. They're gone. So those different species, those, you know, those, you know, good pollinators and stuff like that, you know, they're around and they're like, what am I doing? You know, you got bees trying to pollinate and they're like, why am I pollinating? I should be. So just like nature has been diverse and thrown us what we're not ready for. Yeah. I think people need to look at that in a big scale, because that can happen tomorrow. Yeah. You know, COVID was a prime example of that. I didn't have the business during COVID. Yeah. However, I did have my other two businesses, and I can be honest with you, I bought a $180,000 Mercedes-Benz during COVID. Yeah. Now, I did it for a couple of reasons, but I had the money to do so. Yeah. You know, I can't think of doing lawn care during COVID because you wouldn't have been able to. Yep. I have a few contracts now that I would be able to. Yep. There's certain places I go to where I've got a security clearances and so forth that would still happen. Yeah. But all your resis are gone. Yeah. And the timing of me dropping all my residential work and going commercial only and was considered essential services to keep working. And it was like, wow. Yeah. What a strike of luck. And that's what it was. There's no pretending that was a good choice. It was a stroke of luck. Yeah, yeah. But that's what outdoor work entails, right? We're not plumbers. Yeah. We're not electricians. And I'm not saying we don't have the mindset or the brain capacity, or our job isn't equally as important. Yeah. But when your toilet breaks down, you're paying whatever, right? Like that's right. If your lawn, you know, can you live with your lawn up to your knees? It doesn't kill you. Like it's yeah. It increases the biodiversity. Well, there's other proof factors in that too, right? So as long as you can still get to your front gate, does it matter? Yeah. Like, does it matter, you know? So yep. You've got to be prepared for anything, and that's where going back to diversity is that in that sense, and that's what we've sort of tried to be on the forefront of in that sense. Like I've got toys and tools that a lot of blokes just wouldn't have, but yeah, you know, it's that diversity. And I guess this is where this podcast, I think, is helpful to other people. We can talk about all of these things for hours. Your business is one of a few that I've interviewed where you've gone from zero to
what did you say, 8 employees?
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.